Craft beer is like going back to the roots of beer. You know, it's just a creative outlet, you know. It's like a chef cooking, come up with different recipes. Well, we're coming up with different recipes for beer.
Now I think the latest count of breweries in Arkansas is up to 19.
It's kind of amazing what's happening here in Fayetteville because, I don't know, it's kind of this craft beer bubble in the middle of craft beer nothingness.
Craft beer has a way of being kind of infectious.
I think our Northwest Arkansas beer kicks ass.
Thanks a lot. Come back and see us. There you go.
Thanks, guys.
Oh golly, we've been here for probably 8 years, maybe 9 years. It's a long time. We've been in business probably 15. You've been there and followed all the way through the growth of all the breweries in this area, right? It was really just a matter of time before they started popping up here. So there was one brewery in Fayetteville for a few years, but then once they started to open, they basically all opened within a year of them each other. This has already happened in lots of parts of the United States. They've developed this kind of beer culture and this passion for beer. Fayetteville is, I consider, one of the kind of cooler, hipper areas of the state. And so naturally, it's gonna kind of start to do some of the cooler, hipper things like get into craft beer and stuff like that. And everything would change. I remember when I first started brewing and I thought, wow, I love this, right? I wish I could do this every day. I wish I could just be around this. The smells, take a sniff of that, the flavors, the fun, the interactions with your friends. So I see why everybody that gets started, wants to do it. It's a really great time to be a beer lover in Northwest Arkansas.
My name's Ben Mills, owner and head brewer here at Fossil Cove Brewing Company. I really liked beer and I was always trying different beers and doing different things with beer. And so my buddies, kind of challenged me. My roommates challenged me to make beer. And I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I bought all the stuff, made a couple batches of beer. It wasn't bad, it was good. And we all sat around and drank it. And they took pride in saying, hey, our roommate made this. And it was a lot of fun and it gave me some confidence in what I was doing.
When I started as a freshman in 1992, then it was West Ark, now it's UAFS. Being a typical freshman, I was out chasing tail and drinking beer, and yeah, it was shitty beer back then. I hadn't learned yet at that point, so I had an 8 a.m. microbiology class, and I wasn't too pumped up about getting up early and go to a microbiology class in the morning. But my professor, he said, if you just show up to class, I'll teach you how to make beer. And that's how I started in home brewing, and it's been a passion ever since.
We're at Saddlebach Brewery in Washington County, Arkansas. I did start with Danny stuff, actually. I went in there, I don't know, probably about 5 years ago and bought a wheat beer kit, and it came out great. I wanted to keep brewing, started brewing more and more. It's a technical thing, and I've always done technical things that really fit in with what I like to do. I've always liked beer, good beer. I was never a Budweiser guy. Even when I was back in college, I would drink some imports, and I had a kegerator in my house for the last 20-some years so I could import good beer and have good beer on tap.
I make every drop of beer that comes out of the taps at the West Mountain Brewing Company in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So a lot of people would not want to admit this, but my first batch of beer was made with a Mr. Beer kit. It's kind of like the easy bake oven of beer making, right? It's like, I don't know, it's like if you were into fish and you wanted an aquarium and all that stuff, but you know, you went and got some sea monkeys, you know, it's kind of the same deal. I was looking for, you know, like to get back into a brew pub. You know, I really missed interacting with the customers, having a little more creative freedom, chances to do more seasonals and things like that. Came up here, poked around, saw the scene, liked what I saw, decided to come up.
I am the brewmaster at Apple Blossom Brew Company. They say you never trust a skinny or a beardless brewer. I grew a beard. I have a high metabolism right now. Maybe when I'm older, I'll start getting rounder, so. Because I do love food and beer quite a bit. I bought my first homebrew kit when I was 21. It made a huge mess, but I had a ton of fun. And from there, it was only about $25 or so to keep getting extract kits. So I continued doing that through college off and on. No one wants to hear about making antibiotics or anything in college. You wouldn't know how to make beer, because you know going into it, like, yeast make this somehow. I don't know where, but it happens. I started talking to these guys in November 2013, and they got back in touch with me in February. And since then, it's been all Apple Blossom.
Many people who have been successful as homebrewers decide that they want to make a career out of it, and that's when they decide to start that brewery.
My roots in brewing started homebrewing. So without homebrewing, I don't know that this would exist.
We as brewers need to be very appreciative of what Andy Sparks has done. Andy, in a lot of ways, is kind of the father of this brewing movement because, you know, he's been teaching homebrewers and providing this. And where do 99% of brewers come from? They come from the basis of homebrewers. So Andy is a large part of the culture here. So man, I support him any way I can.
Most of the brewers all started just like I did as a home brewer, making it themselves, and then tried to decide, how can I take this and make this my job? It seems complicated.
Digital refractometer.
And I can make it seem very complicated.
DO meters, CO2 meters.
Depending on how deep I want to go into it.
Alpha amylase and beta amylase.
I could make spaghetti making sound very complicated if I talk about how to make the pasta, right?
Glucose, fructose, sucrose, maltose, and maltotriose.
We could dig way down in it. And that's kind of the way it is with homebrewers, is that they will, some of them will want to make the pasta. They want to do everything themselves and have complete control over the process. I've had some brewers that are really awesome brewers. There were a couple of girls in here earlier today, Casey and Jen. I consider them some of my very best brewers.
We both were, when we met, we were both really interested in beer, good beer. We both had an itch for brewing.
Most homebrewers are definitely, you know, beer nerds anyway.
Yeah.
They love all kinds of beer.
Once you make it, you understand what all goes into it. When you taste a really beautifully brewed beer, I mean, you have much more of a taste for it. And you know what goes into achieving something like that, and you just want to keep buying more beer and tasting more beer.
We looked at a recipe that they've done. They've done several saisons in the past, and so they kind of settled on a recipe they like. And then I have a recipe that I like, and so we kind of compared notes and made some adjustments. And I think we've come up with what looks like it's going to be a delicious beer.
Beer is made with 4 main ingredients. You got your water, which is it's like 95% of most beers. Malted barley, hops, and yeast. From the grain, we're going to get sugar, color, and flavor. First two, water and malted barley, we're going to put here in the mash tun. And the mash tun's actually, it's essentially a pot with a strainer in the bottom. You're going to mix all your grain bill in here, crushed up, and with hot water. You're essentially growing the grain for just a limited amount of time.
We do everything just the same way as a craft brewery, just on a smaller scale and with smaller equipment. Are we ready? You want to help carry that?
Sure.
We need to hit a target temperature for our mash so that the starches are converted in the way we want them to. This is an important part of our ability to craft the finished beer the way we want it to be.
Basically, you get hot water in here and add the grains into it, and you basically steep it a lot like tea to make the sweet wort, which is basically just taking the sugar out of the grain.
And now
we wait.
We wait.
Once you're done, it runs out this arm right here, just the liquid. So you essentially just made a tea out of grain. Inside the kettle here, you're gonna boil that.
What we're going to do is a little different. We're going to fill the mash tun with water, and we're going to drain it completely and collect that. And then we're going to fill it again.
It's running.
Stir it, reboil off, and drain it again and collect those 2 batches of runnings, put them together to make the beer.
You're gonna boil it, that sterilizes it.
Oh yeah.
And then you're also, one of the main steps, that your next ingredient, the hops, are gonna come into play. You're essentially extracting this bitter compound from the hops. And that's going to come into play in different styles as well.
Every beer recipe will have hops in it, but the amounts and at the times you add them are going to be different. And hops are added at several different steps. The hops we added first are for bitterness. We'll add some in the middle, and those will be for flavor, because not as much of the bitterness will be extracted. And then we'll add some at the very end that's specifically for the aromatic qualities and not for the bittering. You know, some recipes like a hoppy pale ale will have a lot more hops in it and have them added at near the end to create that aromatic quality. But that process is the same whether you're a craft brewer, professional, or a home brewer. You still have to add them at the different times to get what you want from them. And that's part of the fun of being a brewer, is being able to play with those additions and kind of manipulate the recipe to produce something that you really enjoy.
Different varieties, there's probably 50 plus varieties of hops, and that's going to have a lot of flavor. All of that's happening in the brew kettle. It's like a 1 hour process, and I could talk about it for about 5 days. But once you boil it, you know, sterilize it, all that stuff, you're going to run it off. We're cool it down really quick. We got a heat exchanger. It's like the radiator in your car without the nasty stuff. And you put it inside one of these fermenters.
Boil over. This boil is complete.
Ready?
Yeah. We'll drop it down as far as we can, and usually in the summer it'll plateau around like 90 degrees. So we'll pump ice water through the wort chiller to drop it the rest of the way down.
And that's where we add the final ingredient, if you want to call it that, is the yeast. And the yeast are actually what's going to take that sugar and create the alcohol for us. The fermentation process is its own thing. It takes a little bit of time, about 5 days for the yeast to actually ferment out the sugar. Another couple days for them to clean up their metabolism byproducts, and then another couple days to just kind of let everything settle. A lot of people use the expression from grain to glass. So from mash tun, brew kettle to the pint you're drinking, depending on the beer style, it's anywhere from 15 to 20 days.
And I mean, for like Casey and I love it because we are brewing together, so it's really nice to have, you know, an assistant, and it helps you, like, well, lift stuff first of all, half as many dishes, and, you know, somebody to kind of be your, like, safety check, you know, like, oh, you're doing that, you forgot that, or, you know, whatever. It's really nice.
There's a tradition that home brewers, and I think professional brewers alike share. We make something called a hopscotch. We take the first sweet runnings of the batch of beer off the mash tun, and then we will put a little bit in our coffee cups and put a little splash of bourbon or scotch and enjoy that. It's a nice tradition, and you pretty much have to do it every time, right?
You know, really what I tell my guys is we just need to focus on hitting our golf ball. We're giving the highest customer service plus the best product we can make.
It's not for everyone. It's a very hard job, but gratifying at the end of the day.
We started in this suite. Basically, there was a wall here. Right here was the wall, and none of this was here. And then this was our brewery, and this is September 2010.
I wanted to build a place that I would like going. You know, there's a place for fine dining. I enjoy that as well. But when I want to decompress from going from business Jesse to family Jesse, there's nothing better than going sitting with a group of your buddies, having a cold beer or two, and then going home and you're in a much better state of mind.
This filled up quickly. I mean, you can see our first wall here. Yeah. It's been fun. It's been a good journey.
We started off on a small system, went to Kingfish, good guys, great pub, served the beer there, went well, and then I just did a cannonball into the deep end and said, I'm taking all the money I've earned in my 20-year career and put it all into this business. And there's a lot of people that have been instrumental in this product, in this company. I have a great team of guys. The people that work with me here are fantastic.
My right-hand man right here, this is the head cellar man. How's it going? So he is, like the rest of us, work our nuts off, but we love it. I started working here about 8 months ago at the bottom and just busted my ass to the top over these past 8 months. So, being a brewer is kind of like being a rock star when you're not a rock star anymore. So beer does that. It's a unifying force. So it's really about it, man. I love my job. Like I said, it's hard, but it's pretty freaking awesome.
And I just keep pushing my guys and myself to let's just make good product. And if we make good product, then our customers will take us where they want to take us.
We're located about a mile north of the University of Arkansas campus in an area of Fayetteville called Midtown. It's probably 6 or 7 different light industrial businesses, and we just kind of took over one of the old warehouses here and opened up shop. So I bought the equipment while I was working in Silverton, Colorado. Finished out a couple months there, killed a couple months, then went to Davis 6 months, and then took some time. We had to find the building and everything. So it was about almost a 2-year period that most of this equipment just sat in storage, just waiting for us to decide what to do with it. I would say that for us personally, the goal is to expand slowly and efficiently. The moment I rented this building, I heard of 3 other people that were opening breweries in the area, and I was like, sweet, let's do this. The more of us that are doing this, the better, because it gets our name out there and it gives people variety. And all of these people that like coming here to Fossil Cove really enjoy going other places as well and seeing the different things all of us can do, and we're only 5-10 miles apart. I would prefer to continue making a quality product and continue making the product that we have made for the past 1.5 years and build upon that rather than trying to fill quota. We did our first major expansion 6 months after we opened, and that almost quadrupled our capacity, which is crazy to do 6 months after you open. So, which we started out pretty small too, so a lot of people don't start out with anything smaller than what we expanded into. They call it craft beer for a reason, because it's a craft. It's like you're crafting something special that you can't get anywhere else. So like, that's one of the cool things about craft beer. Is most all craft breweries are going to be producing a very small amount compared to some of the big guys. Like, you're looking at Anheuser-Busch, like say Bud Light alone, in one fermenter at any Bud facility, they're going to have more beer than I make in 10 years. It's just crazy. Fayetteville, everybody has been incredibly receptive. Bar owners, restaurant owners, everybody's been super great. Yeah, I have no complaints as far as bureaucracy or customer base or anything. Yeah, if anything, it's just people drink a little too much beer maybe sometimes. I can't keep up.
Well, it looks like a barn because the Planning Commission likes it when these buildings fit in. We're an industrial building in a rural residential area. So we built this to look like a barn, but we are a full-scale brewery from the ground up. It was probably 2 years went by from the time I decided I was going to do some brewing until I actually was brewing professionally. And I've been in my own businesses since I was in my 20s. I've had construction companies, I've done consulting. A small, intelligent local producer should be able to make good quality beer at the same price as somebody mass-produced. But what I really enjoy is the social aspects too. You've got a product that brings people together.
This culture is still new. I think there's a lot of room to grow. There's a lot of room for us and other microbrews to succeed. It's not necessarily about drinking. It's more about gathering and having a good conversation.
That feeling you get from everyone loving it, I got that same feeling from my first homebrew, and so it just kind of kept building from there. And yeah, a couple of times you get something where you're like, ooh, I'm just going to open every bottle and pour it on the drain. But then more often than not, you got something that was really good and that everyone else enjoyed.
Well, my favorite parts are honestly the beginning and the end of the process. I like to write recipes, and I really enjoy that kind of exercise of kind of visualizing, what a particular beer is going to look like, taste like, smell like, all that stuff. Really trying to kind of conjure that perfect beer of whatever kind, whatever style up in my head, and then kind of work backwards to try and come up with a recipe and a process that will create that beer. When I first got here, I was kind of brewing the recipes that were left behind, kind of gradually tweak them little by little, and so I'd say we're pouring beer that's more, I guess you could say my own at this point, so that's kind of nice. And then, as someone who's made a movie, you could tell you, what you envision in the beginning and what you wind up with at the end may not necessarily, be the same thing. There's a million little steps involved in the process. There's a million chances for things to meander from your original vision.
So, all right. Want to give me a keg?
Sure.
It does. Yeah.
At this point, it doesn't feel good when you have a bad batch. I mean, we haven't had one for a while, but it happens sometimes, and it's disappointing. You put all that work into it, and it's a bummer. It's like you taste it and it's not where you're wanting, or it's you just move on.
I think it's like the stages of grief. At first, you have denial.
Yeah.
You like taste it, and it's not really that good, but you're like, it's okay.
Maybe it's alright.
Maybe it's okay. I'll taste it a little bit later. Maybe my palate is just not quite right now. Mm-hmm. And then you go back to it, and you're like, it's just not that good. Damn it.
That's true. What do you think of that, Andy?
Looks pretty good so far. Can't wait to taste it.
The most exciting to me is when we get to taste what the beer really is going to be like. You have a good feeling of what it's going to be like, but tasting it, knowing. It's a good feeling even when I don't hit exactly what I was going for, just to know what it's like.
Oh, that's going to be good.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. We need to get a little bit more of it.
I mean, the craft beer scene in Northwest Arkansas is terrific, right? And we have an incredible, vibrant scene with lots of participants, right? And it's not necessarily the number of breweries or anything like that. It's the quality and how passionate they are about their craft.
Beer and beer, or beer and beer.
And how passionate the community is about the craft scene. So it's all going to feed off of itself, As more beer is poured and more places serve local beers, more people get exposed to it, which means they'll demand it when they go to other places, right? So it's just going to feed off of itself.
For a town its size, Fayetteville has a pretty impressive number of breweries at this point, and it seems like just about anywhere you go in town, you are able to find something decent to drink, usually something local. I'd say Fayetteville is a great place to be a beer drinker. America is a great place to be a beer drinker right now.
Pretty much, 99% of the conversations I have with people are about beer. So, on the day that it does get old, that'll tell me something, but it hasn't happened yet.
No, man, I enjoy stuff like this. It's great.
It's pretty cool to see all the niches that some of the breweries have here.
Your social status doesn't matter. Everybody just comes in here to have a good time and enjoy each other and enjoy the beer. And we just got super cool. It's just a lot of fun.
I think it's great. I think us being a leader in the beer movement in this area it's wonderful. We enjoy it. There's a lot of responsibility too. So yeah, it's pretty damn exciting.
Cheers. Roast. Salute.
Oh, that's good.
It's a pretty cool experience for someone that you don't know to buy your beer, your product, at a store, drink it, enjoy it so much they want to contact you to just say, I loved your beer. There is no amount of money, there is nothing that feels better than that. It is just a really cool thing when our customers are coming back and saying, hey man, good job.
No, it's a wonderful thing. We're very fortunate right now in Northwest Arkansas to have a very active microbrewing community, and everybody's very passionate about what they're doing, and they share the love with all of us, and yeah, it's a really great time to be a beer lover in Northwest Arkansas.
And don't let go, just please come back home.